Hey guys, welcome back to my paradise. It's been a really busy week. We've been working really hard with some third graders. We just started, so we've got 3 weeks to go with them. We're hoping to make a big impact in some kids' lives. I really enjoyed last week. It was kind of hot sitting in the sun. Found a shadier spot for today, but I I had a lot of fun sharing a lot of details about the Great Commission and some backstory and context and all that fun stuff. So this week I just kind of wanted to follow up with that because I know a lot of Christians struggle with sharing their faith, and a big part of it is like, what do I say? Because a lot of people, they're very willing and they're eager. They want to do what God asked them to do, and they want to tell people. Like, it is burning in their hearts to share that message, just like it was with Peter and with Mary and all that in the story that we talked about. But a lot of people really struggle with, what should they say? So I wanted to share a story with you guys out of Mark chapter 5 that uh, that really speaks to that. And I'm pretty excited about seeing what God's going to do through this. So um, this starts. It's pretty early in Jesus' ministry. Um, I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the story about when Jesus calms the sea. Just a quick summary of it. The disciples and Jesus, they were sailing to the other side of the sea in a little boat, and there was a big storm that came up, and Jesus was just chilling in the back seat, the back of the boat. Boats don't have seats. Boat's not a car. Um, Jesus was in the back sleeping, and this really bad storm came up, and the disciples all were terrified, and they thought they were going to die. They woke Jesus up, and he just calms the sea. He just told it to calm down, and it did. So this is picking up immediately after that. This is basically what happens when they came to shore after that happened. So this is in Mark chapter 5, the first 20 verses. It starts out, then they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when they had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me." For he said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." Then he asked him, "What is your name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Also he begged him earnestly that he would not send him out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding near the mountains. So all the demons begged him, saying, "Send us to the swine, that we may enter them." And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirit uh, went out and entered the swine. There were about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down uh, the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that had happened. When they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion sitting and clothed in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed, and about the swine. Then they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he got into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends, and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you, and how he has had compassion on you." And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. So that's it. I mean, I was doing a Bible study one time with some pretty young believers, and when I got done reading this passage, I asked them, "So, like, what did you what did we just read about? And I remember one of them, she had just gotten saved a couple months prior, and she's just marveling at the page, and she goes, best miracle ever. And it's kind of a big deal. I mean, this demon called himself Legion to describe how many of him there were. And at this time, a Roman legion would have been about 4,000 to 6,000 soldiers. So this man is literally possessed with thousands of demons, and Jesus saved him just with by speaking a command. And not only that, but like if you look at it really closely, Jesus gives the command, but even by the time he gives the command, they've already run and fallen at his feet to worship. It's crazy. Almost just the raw presence of Jesus himself performs the miracle, and then just when he speaks is when it finalizes all of it. And that can speak to you in a number of different ways, and I'm praying that God uses that to speak to whatever situation is going on with you right now. But pay attention to what Jesus says at the end, because this man is like, oh my gosh, Jesus, you saved me from thousands of demons. Thank you. And he's begging him to be his follower. He wants to be with him. And Jesus won't let him because Jesus would rather him go into the region and tell everybody about what happened, to share his story. And that's it. If you want to share the good news with someone who is not a believer or somebody who has never heard the name of Jesus, what do you say? You share your story. That's plain and simple. And it's amazing the difference that um, telling someone about good news or something new can make if you have stories to tell. In business and sales, they always tell us facts tell, but stories sell. So that's just a business and sales term, but like it's true. When you tell people true stories about things, it adds the testimony, it adds the authenticity and the proof that what you're talking about is real, because it was real when Jesus came into your life and threw your darkness away and threw your demons away. So that's my encouragement to you this week. Absolutely, absolutely obey the Great Commission and tell people. And if you don't know what to say, just share your story. That's all you have to do. It's good news, and you've got all these good stories from the Bible, but the most important one to the person who's hearing you talk about it is yours, because that makes the story real. So that's really the main point I wanted to make is if you don't know what to say, just share your story. It's a true story about a real miracle that God performed. As we talked about a couple weeks ago with the gospel, the fact that you're willing to bugs, the fact that you're willing to follow God in the midst of all of your pride and darkness and misunderstanding and deception is a miracle in and of itself. So the fact that you're a follower of Christ, that is a miracle. And your testimony, the story about how you became a believer in him and his name, that is a true story about a real miracle that has happened. And that is what is going to bring people to Christ. Look at the passage and you have Christ himself commanding someone he just radically saved from a very dark place. He won't even let him follow him because he would rather him be going into other regions and sharing the story and sharing the good news. So, whatever that looks like for you, if God is calling you to buy that plane ticket and go halfway across the world to tell people who are there, that's awesome. Go and share your story. And if you've got a lot going on here, if you work a really important job and do really cool things here in America, like share your story with your next door neighbor. Share your story with the homeless guys that you run into when you walk down the street. Share your story with your coworkers, or just anyone, really. I bet even people at church could stand to hear your story. And most of them are probably already believers, but it still never fails to share your story with people and encourage them. It's always good. One other thing before I let you go. I just want to point out just some truth in this passage that I didn't want to walk away from this passage before I pointed this out. But in your life right now, if there is a legion in you, if there is a legion tormenting you, causing you to do things that hurt you, there's nothing you can do to restrain them. Because it says here, the man was bound with chains and shackles, and they just broke them. It didn't do any good. But as soon as Jesus himself walked into the picture, the demons were so desperate to for anything but having to look Jesus in the eye, that they asked to be sent into pigs, the grossest, most disgusting thing in that culture. They were willing to stoop to that level just for any chance to get away. And once they were in the pigs, they ran those pigs straight into the bottom of that sea because they were so mortified of the very presence of Jesus. They just had to get away. So if there is a legion present in your life, the very presence of Jesus, the very entrance of Jesus into the picture will cause them to cower in fear, beg for mercy, and all you have to do is just welcome him, and they will go. That is a radical kind of salvation that our God offers. So, it's a pretty cool guy. So, just want to thank you all for coming out and watching the video this week. I hope something about it got your attention or spoke to you or challenged you in some way. If you have any questions, prayer requests, please throw them in the comments below. I love your feedback. I love hearing what's going on. I love to pray for people. And if you have my contact information, just hit me up. Facebook, text, call, whatever. I'm really looking forward to hearing whatever God did with this message. So hope you all are doing awesome. Peace be with you. I love every single one of you, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So anyway, thanks guys. Thanks again. Hope everything is well. And y'all have an excellent week.